Good afternoon. Last night after the prayer meeting, the elders and the deacons had another meeting to discuss the details of what restarting public services should involve at Grace Church. And that meeting turned out to be relatively long and at times emotional for us. The brothers were honest, and by the end of it, we were all on the same page together, but it's clear that we don't all see things exactly the same way. Now, that makes sense because the elders and deacons represent this congregation, and the members of this congregation don't see things exactly the same way right now. The officers were able to come to an agreement together last night only by working through things carefully and listening to one another with some humility, and all of us being willing to compromise in order to maintain the unity of the church. Now, the same thing is going to be required of our whole church family, of all of us in this next phase of life together. As has been said many times recently, this situation is unprecedented, and we're going to be tested in some ways that we haven't been before. Let me cut right to the chase, though, about our plans for meeting together. If everything continues as it is, if the governor really does begin phase 1 this Friday, and there is no major change in the way that COVID-19 is spreading in our region, we'll start having limited public meetings again on the 24th. That's 2 weeks from yesterday. Now, we decided not to plan a public meeting for this Sunday, the 17th, for 2 reasons. Number one, we won't know for sure if we're even able to meet on the 17th until the 15th, which is Friday. And that doesn't give us much time to get things in order for this Sunday. And 2, delaying 1 more week will give us a chance to see how things progress with the spread of COVID-19 in our community and make decisions accordingly. If there is a significant spike in infections here in Roanoke, we don't want to be part of the cause of that. After 8 weeks without a meeting, waiting another week to have a public service may seem crazy, I realize. But we think it's wise given the circumstances and even necessary for us. This is the opinion of some local medical professionals that we've consulted, and it's also the same plan that several other like-minded churches in our area are following as well. Many of the pastors that I've been talking to are planning to start some kind of service again on the 24th. So as it stands now, we're looking to hold some form of public gathering on the 24th. That's the Sunday after this coming Sunday. Now, a lot of details will be coming soon about that service, but here's a general picture of what those public meetings are going to look like. They're going to be held in our main auditorium, and they will be limited to 100 people or less in attendance at first. Attenders will be seated by household, and they're going to be spaced out around the room. We might have multiple morning services depending on how many folks plan to attend. We'll be contacting everyone this week to ask if they think they're going to be there so we can get an idea about numbers and plan services accordingly. Now, the service itself is going to involve the same elements that you're used to in our meetings. There'll be singing, there'll be preaching, there'll be praying, etc., although initially services will probably be a little shorter than usual. Now, we are going to ask everyone in attendance to observe all the standard social distancing and personal protection measures that are required in public right now, including wearing masks. This is a public meeting that we're going to be having, and therefore it's subject to community guidelines for safety and indoor public services, which includes, right now, wearing masks. Everyone attending our services will need to bring a mask with them and wear it for the duration of the service, or if you don't have access to a mask, come and we'll provide one for you when you get there. Now, a note about masks. I know that this is unpleasant to hear, and for some of us it's controversial. Many of us find them awkward and uncomfortable, and the idea of wearing one for an hour during a church service is daunting. I've been experimenting with preaching wearing a mask, and I can tell you that I am not excited about it. However, I and the rest of the leadership at the church are convinced that this is the right thing for us to do right now. Many of you won't enjoy it, and a handful of you, I know, might even object to it, but we're still asking you to do it. Even if you think it's unnecessary, if you come to these public meetings right now, wear a mask. Remember, friends, When we have potlucks at a church, we're all careful not to bring dishes that include peanuts, because some of us have peanut allergies. It's only a few folks that need to avoid peanuts, but we all do it because we love each other. Please think of wearing masks right now in the same sort of way. Even if it's not important to you personally, do it anyway, in love, because it's very important to some of us. Now, again, we'll give you more details about these services in the days to come, but even with just this little bit of information, I'm sure you can see that a service like what we're planning is not at all what we're used to. For some of us, it's going to be too much, too fast. For others, it's nowhere near fast enough. Now, we knew it would be like this. Some of us will find these kind of public meetings frustrating, even impossible to attend. And those folks should continue worshiping at home. We're going to continue providing resources for you to do so, including live streaming these limited public meetings on the internet. Now, some of us will want to come to these meetings, though, and we will, but I think we'll all go away from them grieved on some level. We'll be like those folks who returned from the exile and wept when they saw the rebuilt temple, how small and inferior it was compared to the temple that they remembered. Even though we can gather and worship together again, there will be surely a bittersweet quality about meeting together like this in these circumstances. Now, our governor is referring to this as the reopening of churches, but I am not calling this a reopening of Grace Church, because this is a far cry from what church gatherings are supposed to be. But also because Grace Church hasn't really been closed. Grace Church is not Sunday services at a certain building. It is a body of people, united by the Spirit of Jesus Christ. We have continued to be Grace Church, alive and well and open for the past 8 weeks, even though we haven't met. And we've continued to actively care for each other as best we could during that time. We've been using the resources that have been available to us, mostly over the internet and the phone, but we've been carrying on. Now, with the change in government restrictions that we're seeing here, the resources available to us now include limited public meetings. Not a gathering of the whole church to worship as we'd like, as we will again at some point in the near future, but this is another resource for us to use for those who would benefit from it. And we're going to use it. We're going to use that resource, as insufficient as it might be. I want to encourage you all, though. We're going to start meeting again, but this is not the new normal. This is just temporary. It's one of what will be several phases of getting back to normal life together as a church. It's a small, and I think it's going to be awkward beginning, but it is a beginning. Now, one final note. We are also tentatively planning to add an outdoor prayer meeting to our schedule on Sunday nights. Details about that are being worked out, and that could change, but we're working on it right now. We'll still have a Sunday evening prayer meeting on Zoom as we have been, but at the same time, we'll also have a prayer meeting at the outdoor chapel at the church. That might begin as early as this coming Sunday. Now again, it is a small thing, and more details will follow, but it's a place to start. Friends, I want to thank all of you for your patience. On behalf of the elders, the deacons, thank you. Thank you for waiting together on our Lord. All the paths of the Lord are steadfast love and faithfulness for those who keep his covenant, and none who wait for him will be put to shame.